Matters with your host, Melvin.
And Monica Jenkins. The purpose of our program is to give you strategies on dating and
Choosing the correct mate and having a successful marriage. God bless you and good evening. This is Relationship Matters with Monica and Melvin Jenkins. And we're glad to be here with you this evening. We're glad just to have the opportunity to say something positive into your life today. Tonight, we just wanted to just get together and just talk about relationships as the matters come about. And we felt that we should deal with the singles tonight because everybody's not married already, and some people are trying to choose the correct mate. And so tonight we would like to, if possible, give you a few tips on how to choose the correct mate, how to look for the right one, how to find the one that's compatible with you. And oftentimes what we run across is what we call the broken pickers. Those are the folks that seem to pick all the wrong people. Seems like they are drawn to those that are not right. So tonight we just want to encourage you to help you fine-tune your dating process so that you're able to find the right mate that so maybe you could live happily ever after. So Monica, take it away.
I think the first thing that we need to do is to know ourselves. It's very, very important to know who you are, know what you like, know your dislikes, know yourself. Even when it comes down to knowing yourself, know the things that you're attracted to, know the things that displease you. Do not allow your thoughts to get mixed up or mangled, because if you know what it is that you want and like, you'll stick to that. You won't sway, and you won't basically just give in to whatever. A lot of ladies, we get to a point where we feel like we should be married by a certain age, and we get to what I call a desperate situation, and so you will just accept anything. Do not get to that point, and the way you don't get to that point is to know yourself.
Yes, and if you know yourself, you'll know how to choose that mate that's compatible with you, the one that'll come along and complete your sentences, the one that'll come along and compliment you and make you look better than what you actually are, because when you know yourself, you know what you want. You just won't settle for just anybody. So we thank God for what that opportunity, and what we would have to do is this. When you're choosing this other mate, take it for a test drive.
What does that mean?
Well, I would say go out on a date with them, obviously, and people will show themselves. You decide, make a decision to do this. Say, I want to have a date, and you're getting to know this person, and you go on a date, and let's spend a shift together, 8 hours. In 8 hours, a person will show themselves. And that way you don't have to deal with all of the mistakes and the hiccups that come along with it. Because if you take the test drive with them and go...
So you can't necessarily say test drive. That's why I said you got to...
Okay.
Well,
when I say test drive, I'm not talking about testing everything. I'm talking about testing the communication skills, testing does he open the door for you, testing those types of things. We're not taking that any further.
So when you're doing the date, you want to be careful with the dating as well. I know that some of us are more mature. We're not 20 anymore. We're not 18 going out on our first date. So we kind of have our guards down when we're older and dating, because you feel like, well, I'm old enough to know how to handle this or how to do better. But I still believe in group dates. What I mean by that is having someone else go out on the dates with you, maybe do a double date, maybe have a group of friends going, just because it keeps you safe, number one, and especially if you don't know the individual, and it also protects you, protects you from your own flesh. So I think if you're gonna do the date, a group date is wonderful. Know your boundaries. You don't necessarily have to go back and have coffee at your house. You can end the date right there at Starbucks. You do not have to take it any further than that particular place where it's actually not, it's an actual public setting and it's not so private that you get yourself in any kind of bad consequences.
True, true. And part of that test drive that I'm talking about is in that 8-hour period, go meet his family. See how he treats his mother if his mother's living, how he treats his siblings, how if there's no siblings or a parent, how does he treat his children if it's an older gentleman? How does he treat the women in the family? You know, how does he talk to them? Because if he talks to them any kind of way, he's going to talk to you any kind of way.
And that's really, really important when it comes down to seeing who that person is, seeing who that individual is. It's really important to know outside of what he shows you on a day-to-day with the phone call and the pleasantries. Hi, how are you? Everything good? Hi, okay. Talk to you soon. Or a text, hi, good morning, love, or whatever. But then when you're really sitting across the table at a dinner table with his siblings or his mom, you will know who he is because he can't hide. Like you said, you can't hide for 8 hours who you really are inside. Even driving, if you're riding in a car with someone, they have road rage, that tells you something about them. You will learn different things that they necessarily may not just divulge to you on a normal basis. And also in that, remember, generational curses are a real thing. Mm-hmm. You want to know what's in that bloodline. Do not, by any stretch of the imagination, think that it's okay not to know anything about the family because you're just marrying that individual. That's the biggest mistake that you can ever make. Know the bloodline.
Yes, absolutely, because if you don't know the bloodline, daddy could have, his mother could be at home, but he got 5 kids by 5 other women that mama don't even know anything about. And if he see daddy doing it, he thinks he could do that. So know the bloodline is a very important thing to know about the person that you're dating if you're looking for that mate, because if it's in them, it's going to come out.
And do you give what you're seeking? A lot of us ladies say, I want a guy that has, is making 6 figures. I need him to have a nice bank account, nice home, nice car. Do you offer that? Don't always ask for something that you're not offering. And let's be really realistic. Do you have 6 figures saved in the bank while you're expecting him to have it? Make sure that you're willing to give what you're asking for. That's really important.
Absolutely, because you don't want the relationship just to be one-sided, because then now he thinks he has all the control, or vice versa, she thinks she has all the control, because sometimes the women make more money than the men. So we have to take that step into accountability so that when you're choosing this mate, that you guys are what we call in the Bible equally yoked. The Bible says that how can 2 walk together except they agree? You can always have conflict if you don't agree on certain things. Yes, there's going to be disagreements, but it shouldn't be disagreements on everything that goes on in the home, in the relationship. If you like something one way, this person doesn't like it that way. If you're going to become one, you got to learn how to compromise. Now, it shouldn't be a one-sided situation where the one always has to compromise. It should be compromise on each side.
Yeah, that's really important to be able to give somewhat. You cannot always think you're right. You have to be willing to give, meet halfway. And the bottom line is, are you really ready for marriage? Mm-hmm. A lot of us have a good talk, but are you really ready for marriage? Do you even know how to shop for someone other than just yourself? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to clean? Do you know if there's some things that are you really ready? Do you think that you're ready? Because even if we're saying yes, I'm ready. I'm 53 and I've been waiting. I'm ready. And you really haven't ever learned how to do simple things like shop. And I say that with my own scenario. I never knew how to, like, when I shopped, I would just shop for one. My cousin and I lived together before I got married, and basically we kind of did our own thing as far as shopping. But when I got married, I'm just used to me. And when I got married, my husband, we ran out of either soap or toilet paper. I can't remember which one it was. And he was said, as much money as I make, we done ran out of this. And that taught me to really stockpile the things that won't go bad. And so I always have enough now. But that was one thing that I didn't have a clue how to do. And it sounds simple, and it probably sounds like, that shouldn't have been an issue, but it could have been a huge issue because I didn't know any better. But when I learned about it, then when you know better, you do better. So again, are you really ready? That's a good question.
Are you really ready? Absolutely, because as part of the test drive, if you're really ready, you'll understand what's going on, and you'll start to know this mate better in that 8-hour period, because of the fact that in 8 hours you can learn a whole lot about your mate, because of the fact that if they have any habits, they're going to eventually come out, because they may not be able to go that long without touching that habit. So if every time they came around, they smelled, if it's a man, he smelled like, fresh cologne, looking good to you, this, that, and the other, and but you smelt the scent of smoke, but you didn't believe you smelt smoke because the cologne was so overwhelming or what have you. And he says he doesn't smoke, and you don't want anybody that's a smoker. That's just one scenario I'm giving you. And in 8 hours, a smoker can't go without a cigarette within that 8 hours.
And when we say, are you ready? Are you really ready to share your space? A lot of us that are older, that are waiting to be married, to him to find you, you kind of set in your ways. You're used to living on your own. Even if it's been, 3-4 years, you're doing things a certain way. Are you really ready to share your space? Are you really ready to change some of your habits? Maybe once you get married, your husband expects the kitchen to be cleaned daily. Maybe right now you're used to cleaning the kitchen every other day because it's just you. Well, when you start adding numbers, you're going to add dishes. You're going to add more jobs to do as far as cleaning. So that's a really, really important question to answer within yourself, to know if you're really ready to share your space, and really ready to do double work. That's what I think it is.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's triple work. I mean, the more bodies in the house, the more work, household duties that there are, because things just don't stay clean by themselves. Oftentimes you'll find that people don't understand, you can buy a beautiful home, but you still got to maintain it. It's just like your body. You maintain your body with daily hygiene. Your home would have to be maintained with daily household cleaning and things of that sort. So now when you're taking the test drive with this mate, in that 8 hours, you'll find out some stuff that could be a make or break. I've seen relationships that sat down and talked and did the 8-hour course of finding out, well, I want to have kids. I don't want to have any kids. That's a make or break you deal. You got to make that decision. So it's better to find out in that 8-hour date than tie the knot, get married, and say I do, and then like, well, I wanted to have 2 more kids or 2 kids, and well, I don't plan on having any kids.
Exactly.
And so then now the relationship becomes a bust because of the fact that communication hadn't taken place. So those are things that you would discuss while you're on these dates trying to find this mate.
And when you're discussing the different things, women don't make it seem like it's an ultimatum. Do not have your list on date number 1 and pull it out and say, well, do you do this?
Correct.
That's a way that's going to turn that brother off quickly. You do not want to sound like I'm sizing you up for marriage and we're just going out for the very first time. You don't want to do that either. You kind of just want to have casual conversation. In that conversation, you're going to find things out. But you don't want to drill him. You don't want to say, well, my ex-husband did blah, 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 so that's a deal breaker. Don't bring your ex up on the first date. Do not do that. And don't let it be said that she ran me away because she brought out her grocery list of the things that she had to have. That is probably a huge deal breaker for men.
Well, yes. Also, I would like to add to that, when you're on those dates, um, I think these tips that we're giving is for when you've gotten to know the person a little bit, a few months into the relationship. These are not just tips for just we met last night and at the club hanging out, or we met at church service last night and then now we're going on a date next week Saturday night, and then you bombard them with all these types of questions or say we're going to spend 8 hours together. No, that's not that. These tips aren't for that. These tips are for after you've gotten, you've been on the phone all night. Hey, boo, what's going on? What you doing? After you done did all that, you just done talked and been out to lunch and dinner a few times, and then you say, I think this is going somewhere. Now is the time that you lay all this out and say, let's go on a day trip. Let's go and go up north, or let's go down to Ohio or something, and we're just gonna spend time together. And this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna stop by and visit your family, or whatever it may be. You plan this all out, and then this is the time that you will become familiar with your mate, possibly by pouring your heart out, letting them know different things, how you feel about different things, and also letting them know, I'm really want to pour my heart out to you. I want to have a shoulder to lean on, and vice versa. So if something's bothering you, you got my shoulders there for you to lean on, so that we could talk and discuss it. Because it could be a deal breaker. Because if you feel like when I'm in a lowly place and I need some help, I need to lean on this person, and they're not there for you, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, I believe that. Well, sometimes people say to make a list. I'm kind of undecided on this, because a lot of times when we make this list, we just go in on what we want and what we don't want. I kind of think if you know yourself, then you also can have a list, but it can be a list that's a valuable list, that's not so strict and stringent. He has to be 6 feet. He has to be dark. He has to have a 6-figure income. When you start making a list like that, then you're making a list to stay alone. I think we should make a list, but I think that it should be a list that's not unobtainable, because you want to keep it kind of modest. What if he's only 5'10"? You're going to throw him away. He has all the other traits. He has all the other characteristics that you're looking for. And just because he's a couple of feet shorter than what you want, couple of inches shorter than what you want, you're going to just throw him away? Don't do that. Be realistic. And being realistic means there aren't a lot of men that you're going to meet that are 6 feet or taller, that's going to have this 6-figure income, that's never been married, doesn't have any children. You have all of that on your list, so you're setting yourself up for failure.
Amen.
So I want it to be more of a realistic list. If you're 50 years old or better, chances are he's already been married. Chances are he has children. So just make it more realistic, and then are you bringing that to the table? Have you ever been married? Do you already have children? So don't ask for something that you're actually aren't either. So it would be kind of selfish to say, I want a man that's never been married and doesn't have any children, and you're on your second husband and you have 4 kids. That's really not fair. So when you do prepare a list, which I'm saying if you make the list, make it a modest list, make it honest, and make sure that you're willing to give what you're asking for that's on that list.
Quite true. And while you're making the list, my suggestion is part of the list is put down what you have in common, what you don't have in common. So it'd be a positive list and a negative list. Now, there's going to have to be some give and take on each side of the list. Another thing that, as I spoke of earlier, the children situation. If you want to have more children, this one doesn't. That really is going to be a deal breaker. We kind of know that. But sometimes politics are a deal breaker. Sometimes spirituality is a deal breaker. You know, most godly women want a godly man. You know, and sometimes because they don't make a list or they don't choose the right mate, they just want a man, and they'll go get somebody that's not in the church, and then now they're not equally yoked, and then you still want to go to church, and he talking about the church, and you're believing, well, God will, we're gonna anoint his shoes, we're gonna anoint his feet, and he'll eventually come. And some just it's not in their DNA. You know, we could try. God loves everybody, and he wants everybody to be saved. But some men and some women, it's just not in their DNA to live a saved life. So these lists that you make, first of all, put down what you have in common. You know, write them down. Say, okay, we have all this in common. This we don't have in common. Or spiritually, he believes in this. I believe in this. All right, that's a conflict, because how can two walk together except they agree again? So you have these conflicts that you have to work out early before you say I do, because it's better to do it before you say I do than after, because this list can make or break you, because once you get this list set up, you'll find out, is this someone that's for me? Is this someone that's like me, or is this just going to be a boring relationship? We don't have nothing in common, and as time goes on, we ended up not being together. We end up separating. So make your list, and when you make your list, check your list to find out what you have in common. You should have more in common than you have that's negative.
And in the list that I was speaking of, I was thinking about a list prior to meeting anyone, and then saying, does he have these character traits? Does he not? So you need both. Once you find him, then you want to see, or once he finds you, ladies, then you want to see if those character traits meet up, if that's the person that you actually ask God for on the list. And again, you want to be fair with writing that list. Also, I think that it's important to know if the list is really accurate. You know, like sometimes we ask for things before our time.
Come on.
Like when I'm 20, I'm trying to ask for a Lexus or a Benz. I'm 20 years old. I'm making $15,000 a year, and I want to drive like that. It's good to have that on your vision board. It's good to, to even aspire to do that or have that. But is it really an honest ask? Because I'm 20 and I'm only making this income. Yes, I want to dream big, but am I ready for it? So that's another whole different thing. You want to make sure that you're ready for what your list says. And typically, the friends that are around you can help you with that. I think that your friends, if they're true friends that are around you or family, they could probably say, I don't think you should even have that on there, because I don't think you're going to give that. And it could be something as simple as you saying on your list, I want someone that has 4 rental properties. And your friend is saying, well, why would you say that? And you're renting. You don't even own your own home. So why would you expect that from him? And you're living in an apartment yourself. So we want to be realistic with the list. I also think that when you're getting into this list and writing this list, typically you know you better than anyone. And if you know that there's something that is definitely a deal breaker and now you guys are dating, there's no sense in you prolonging it if you know that that's something you do not want to deal with, such as a smoker. You find out that person does smoke, and just because you have had 2 months in on your dating and you're finding out the third month that he actually does have a smoking habit, then it's time for you to really search yourself, because if you said that that's something that you didn't want and now you're going to settle for it just because you want a man, then you're not being honest and true to yourself, less along this list that you wrote to ask God for. So I think that it's very important and very essential. And the people that you have around you should also be able to kind of be a witness to your character.
Yes, yes.
I think also that something that's important to do is to know how to market yourself. Okay, ladies, when you're single, this is just a no-no. I'm sorry. Say I have 5 good girlfriends and I'm single and I'm really ready to be found. You do not go out with 5 females because you just made your chances slimmer than if it's just you and 1 female. If it's 5 of you, then you guys run to 2 guys, then 3 of you are left out automatically. So I think that it's very smart to bring your numbers down where you're going out, especially if you're going out to some place where you know the opposite sex is going to be, and that you may have a chance to finally attract him. But if he has 4 other women to look at, who's to say you're going to be the one that gets chosen? So you got to be smarter than that.
That's true. That's true. You gave him a multiple choice test, and he didn't have to have a multiple choice. Should have just had a true and false. Well, one of the other things I just wanted to throw in there real quick was when you're making that list. I want to go back to that list real quick. You got to know your differences, and you don't want anybody that's exactly like you, because if they're exactly like you, it will become boring. You know, if you don't crack jokes and that person doesn't crack jokes, when y'all gonna laugh? You know, you need somebody that's gonna say something with a sense of humor that's gonna make you laugh, or you know. So you don't want anybody that's exactly like you. You do want, if you're a God-fearing woman, you want a God-fearing man, or if you're a God-fearing man, you want a God-fearing woman. You know, or, you know, whatever it takes. But in the midst of it, you want somebody that you're going to be compatible with, that you'll learn how to get along, even with your differences, you know. So if one's an athlete and the other's not, well, it's going to encourage you, especially if you're out of shape or something, like she's an athlete or he's an athlete. I'm going to go start working out. So, you know, that's a difference, but it's something that will enhance you physically. So
Right.
there's a lot of things you could do with these lists as they come towards you.
Yeah, you can even identify things that, you know, are you a people person?
Mm-hmm.
Do you hang out on Saturday? Do you like a cat or do you like a dog? Do you like neither? There are different things that that's really, really important. If you have allergies towards dogs and he has 3 dogs,
It's a problem.
he's not getting rid of his dogs. So, you have to be realistic, and when you're getting into the actual dating and you find out things about him and you're learning things, you want to be realistic with yourself and not just, he picks you up and you get in the car and you automatically start sneezing because you know that you're allergic to the cat and he has a cat. Well, that's something that you kind of need to talk about then and there instead of prolonging it and not letting him know you're allergic to a cat. You're highly allergic. So that's really important. And like you said about church, does he go to church? Will he continue to go to church? Does he love God? Is God the head of his life? It's important because if you're in church and you're doing these things, one will draw the other. If he's not, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go and start doing the things that he wants to do on Sunday. He wants to go to a basketball game instead of going to service. Whatever, that's something that you really have to think about and you really have to be conscientious of. It's really important, too, to know hobbies. My husband loves to golf. I am not going to golf. I think that is the dumbest sport ever, but he loves it, so I support him. But is it a deal breaker for me? No, it's not a deal breaker for me, because when he's gone golfing, I have time alone. I love alone time. But maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you're the person that you don't like being alone, so you have to think about those things. It's a lot of different things. He might get up and go golfing on Saturday morning, and I may only want to be in the house on Saturday, and maybe that's quote unquote my day to clean. And so we're running into this issue because now I want you here helping clean, and you're golfing. So this is something that you want to think about. You want to consider all of those things. And by all means, politics, as he already stated, is so important. If you don't have the same political aspirations, that can make or break your relationship as well. So these are things that you should think about. These are things you want to think about other than just money and materialistic things.
True. Politics is a real good thing. You want to be compatible in that. Oftentimes as African Americans, we grew up as Democrats. Well, you don't necessarily have to be a Democrat. You could be a Republican. You could be independent or what have you, or what is it called? It's another word. I forgot what that was. But
Liberal?
A liberal. But make those decisions and be a wise steward over those decisions. One could make a decision on something, the other could disagree. I'm from the old school. I remember back in the day when you were able to vote for a Republican or a Democrat. Nowadays, they make you vote for the whole party. So it can be a make or break situation. Another thing I wanted to kind of like chime in on was the physicality of a relationship. And when I'm talking about physicality, it's not about sex, because that's what y'all young folks think about that when you say physical. What about the sex part? It's a compatibility, because physical compatibility has more to do than just touching. Physical compatibility also comes into what type of shape you're in, because your spouse may want to go for long walks. If you're out of shape, you can't go for long walks. So this compatibility is needed, because if you're looking for a lifelong mate, you want somebody that's going to be able to keep up with you. Not necessarily totally physically, but to a point where if we want to go for a walk, we can go for a walk. If we want to go for a bike ride, we can go for a bike ride. We want to go get in a canoe. You strong enough to help, row the boat. You want somebody that's compatible enough physically so that you'll be able to make it. Because if the person is not physically able, that could be a deal breaker. Because you could be like, well, I'm already gonna be having to take care of them before they even. Before the relationship really gets started. So I don't know if that's really a bad thing or not, but when you talk about that physicality, now I'll touch just for a moment, because I know I get in trouble, the sex thing. When you're a younger couple and you're married, there's a lot of sex going on. And the older you get, your sex life changes. And when it changes, the compatibility changes, because one's coming and one's going, or one's gotten older, whereas they can't do the things that they used to be able to do. So what I'm trying to say, that it changes over a lifetime, but the need for touch remains constant. So even if it's not the sexual part, you want to be able to hold hands. You want to be able to get a kiss on the cheek. You want to be able to, get a hug or show some type of compassion. If there's never any physical touch, it's almost like you living with a roommate.
True.
So.
And that's after the marriage. I think that the touch, it is very important, because a lot of times that kind of tells you if you really want to be bothered with me. Sometimes you get up and you just go into another room. You don't say good morning. You don't say how's it going or anything. It makes you feel as if you just didn't really want to be bothered. But when we see each other, we always greet each other with a hug. I walk through the door, you walk through the door. So that is important. And it actually starts, even if you go to work at different times, it starts in that morning, just sending a text saying, hi, how your day going? How you feeling today? Are you feeling any better? What, is your wrist still bothering you or whatever? It shows me that you care, and that touch is starting just with a text. And that's, again, after you're married, because you wouldn't know what was hurting them the night before or while they were asleep, because you're not sleeping together, because you're not married yet. Okay. So we got that one covered. You also want to make sure that you have cheerleaders in your lives. You want to make sure that someone is helping you and encouraging you as you go along this path of dating. Because you need somebody that's going to be honest with you. No, sis, that don't look good. Don't go out with that on. You want somebody to be able to help you. You don't do your eyeshadow that great. Let me do it for you when you go out on this date. I think I got that. You want some true friends, somebody that's going to really tell you the truth. I don't know how the men get ready for their dates, but women, you want a girlfriend that's going to tell you, no, don't wear that, because, that's not appropriate for this date. You want someone in your corner to do that, because they're going to help you, and then they're going to cheer for you. They're going to be there to push you, and even when you start feeling like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough for him, because we all have those, oh, he's this and his family has this, and I'm kind of intimidated. And then you have that friend that's a cheerleader and say, well, wait a minute, you this, and that. Girl, you can do this. So it's good to have a cheerleader.
That's quite true. I know from the woman's side of it that my wife had cheerleaders, because what I did as a man, when we dated, I would go and pick her up from her mom and dad's home, and I would go knock on the door. I never would blow the horn. I knock on the door, and is she home? And they say, yeah, come on in, sit down. And while she's getting ready or preparing for the date, I would sit there and talk with the parents or what have you. And while sitting there, they get to know your personification, and they get to know your mannerisms and things like that. And I know her mom was, I like that one right there. And so I knew I was in then, so I was excited, like, okay. And then we had our, a oops moment, and she didn't want to be bothered with me no more, so I had to go about my business. But God made a plan, and about 3 to 4 months later, we got back together, and look at us now, 30-something years later. But yeah, you got to have those cheerleaders, someone that'll push you on. But the brethren, I don't know if we really have cheerleaders or not. We know when we going out on a date, if we really like somebody or dig somebody, we're going to go get a fresh haircut. I used to have hair at one time. We go get a fresh haircut, get the, facial hairs trimmed up or what have you, buy a new outfit or whatever, and put our nicest outfit on, and put some cologne on, and we feel comfortable with ourselves. Now, if we go to the barber and a barber cut us bad, or what they used to call back in my day a Timmy, your partner might say, man, you might have to put a hat on for that date. So if you want to call that a cheerleader, that's a cheerleader. But that we try to put on our best impression when we go out on those dates.
I think that not only is it important to have that person to be honest and to give you that information, you know, looking good, not looking good, this looks better on you, that color is better, or whatever. Also, someone who can come back that you can talk to and say, okay, so I haven't dated in a really long time. What does this mean? You know, you need somebody to be able to help you through that, especially if you're newly dating and you haven't been out there. Say, you know, you were married for 20 years and you hadn't dated anyone, and maybe your spouse passed or you got a divorce, whatever the case may be. 20 years ago, dating looked totally different than what it looks now. So you need someone that can that can help you relate to what's really going on, because you shell shocked. I hear horror stories almost every day about dating, and you really don't know what it is until you're there, and you need somebody to help guide you through some of that, because even terminology has changed. So you need someone to help you with the verbiage and everything. So you do need someone that's going to be honest with you and teach and tell you and truth, and then someone that also can relate to whatever the dating scene might be, and whatever that might be. You just need that person. But I think that it's also very essential that you're smart enough to know who you are, and you're smart enough to know if you're going to represent Christ, to represent him at all times, regardless of where he takes you. And say his parents are rich and he takes you to dinner, you still want to represent Christ and you want to be smart. Check up on things. Google is a master to tell you all kind of stuff. Google will tell you which one is the salad fork, boo. Google it. Give you a picture and everything. And he never has to know that you really didn't know which was the salad fork and which wasn't. Google it. It's really, really imperative. I'm not saying to be fake, but what I am saying is that you want to always put your best foot forward. And most men don't want a ratchet woman. Most men don't want someone that's going to be loud and abrupt and boisterous. So at the table, you yelling it, you know, most men don't want that. Am I right?
Amen.
So we have to put our best Monica out there. And when you want to be able to market yourself to the point where if you don't have good diction, don't do a lot of talking with the parents. Just, you know, say a few words, whatnot, what have you. Or if you're nervous and you don't want to come off as nervous, you don't want to come off as snotty, then give 2-word answers. Yes, thank you. No, thank you. Oh, please, I'll have that. Be smart enough to convey your best self. Don't convey anyone that's not good.
That's great. Great information. Great information. When you made that comment about someone that's loud and obnoxious, it made me think about a date I was on prior to getting married. I was on a date way back in, I think that might have been late 70s, early 80s. We went to go see Eddie Murphy Raw. And it was funny at that time, you know, we were in the theater or whatever, but this female that I was out on the date with, her laugh was so loud that everybody's looking around trying to see who was laughing so loud. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. So we never went on another date, but
Obviously.
so I was like, look at this mess here. But real quick, I want to say this: if you've been dating someone that you think may be the right one, and then you want to use a few of these tips for choosing that person to be your mate, questions to ask them or things to do. Beware. I'm putting up the big beware sign to put the cross up. Beware of the one that wants to get married immediately. I say that because some people like to jump in 2 feet first, and there was a word that was developed called engagement. What do you think engagement was? Was to be engaged for a time period prior to getting married. So if that one you've been with 2-3 months and they say, I want to get married, okay, and they ask you for your hand in marriage, and you say, well, I'm willing to get married, but I want the date to be a year out or what have you. That's why it's called an engagement, or 6 months out, so that you can get to know the person a little bit better, because you don't really know a person after 2-3 months. You think you do, but you really don't. And this is a thing that you have to put in your spirit, because if things move too quick, you'll end up in a world of trouble, because these days things move so quick. People I want to get married. Even when you turn your television on and you look at Hollywood, you see that this star actor here is marrying this star actress. You know, here they are, item, and 2 years later, they're getting a divorce. You know, you're like, oh, well, what was that?
Happened?
What happened? Because they moved too quick, you know, so they didn't have up the stop gaps in place to fill the person out, to really get to know them. Yeah, we got together and things seemed to be meshing together so perfectly, but you really didn't know them. You forgot that, you know, he's on different sets and she's on different sets, and they're meeting all these different people, and this one's in Europe this week and the other one's in Paris or whatever, and now here we are, we're crossing paths, and then now we're not together anymore. So beware of people who want to get married immediately. Let's talk about engagement first.
Yeah, I do think that is very important, but and I agree with you, but at the same time, I think within 6 months you do know whether you want to be with that person or not. Don't allow that man to string you along for the next 2 years talking about we're engaged.
Come on now.
There has to be a cutoff period.
A line drawn in the sand.
And you cannot allow him to lead you on or string you along, is what I think it's more so. It could be some reasons that he has for it, because maybe he's wanting to have X amount of dollars in the bank, whatnot, or what have you. But it doesn't take a man 2 years to comprehend whether or not he wants to marry you. If that's the case, there's a couple of little things that are going on here. There are some things on his list that you're not checking off, and he's still looking. Trust me. So he's still dating while you're sitting up here planning a wedding. So do not get sidetracked with that and allow 2 years to go past, especially for those of us that are older. You don't have 2 years. So you kind of want to figure out and find out immediately what is his intentions. Is this year going to add to another year? It's a little different with someone that's graduating from college, and you want to have a year or a year or two engagement, because one, you want to finish a program that you're in, let's say, and then you want to plan this wedding, this big wedding. So it's going to take you a good 6 or 7 months to get everything together for the wedding. It's a little different. So when I'm saying that I am going by age, you're 50 years old, he's 54. You don't have to wait 2 years to figure out, okay, so yeah, I really want to marry you. You don't have that access of time like someone in their 20s. So make sure that you're conscious of what he's saying, and sometimes what he's not saying. The nonverbal communication from a man is really telling you something. And I'm not saying that all men are going to say, oh, you look beautiful today, but if you just went and bought this new cologne and you really tried it, and you're really excited about it, and you get in the car, you guys are getting ready to go for your date, and you get in the car and he doesn't say, oh, that smells nice. Don't ask him if he can smell the perfume or how it is. His nonverbal could be telling you, I really don't like that scent. If he doesn't say anything about it, don't wear it again. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because he's trying to be nice and not say that he really doesn't care for it. So pick up on the nonverbal communication as well.
Amen, amen. And also I'm gonna throw one more beware out there. Beware of the man that wants to stay engaged all the time. A lot of gentlemen will get engaged and then say, "Let's move in together." We engage. We'll be getting married shortly, and next thing you know, some years then pass by, and y'all still been living together. We call that in the church shacking. But by the law of the land, it depends on the state that you live in, it's called common law marriage. Because you technically have been living as husband and wife for all that time, but technically didn't say I do. Beware of that one that wants to just stay engaged because, well, as soon as I get enough money together, it doesn't cost you a whole lot of money to go before the justice of the peace. It doesn't cost you a whole lot of money to call a preacher and say, will you marry us? We're going through, we're willing to take some consultation. We're going to go get our license, and will you perform the service? It doesn't cost that much money.
And also, if he's stalling, there may be some reasons as to why, and why he's wanting to push that out, or why he's saying, well, I do, but not right now. The first thing that you need to make sure he's single.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure that he is not married. He might not be able to marry you, so he don't want to go to jail. You even find out, check that out, make sure. But a lot of times, I think just by nature, men still shop around. I've never seen my husband purchase a car and get it the first day that he goes out to look for the car. Never. I've never seen him just go and say, this is the car, I'm getting that car. Because we as women I like that dress, I'm getting that dress, and we don't shop around. But men, they shop around. So trust me, you're not the only one that he's leaning toward as far as his wife. So be conscious of that. If he is not saying the words like, yeah, I really want to do this, and we're going to get married, and let's set a date, and then it's not moving in that area or that direction, then comprehend that there is something else going on here. Know that he may mean well, but there's definitely something behind that lack of full commitment.
Amen. My last point, I don't have a whole lot more to say, but as I said earlier, you got to find somebody that'll make you laugh. Somebody that has a real sense of humor that will, keep you on your toes. In other words, what I'm saying, when you live a life has a lot of obstacles. And when you have a lot of obstacles in your life, you need something to break up the monotony so you can laugh about it, and so there's some sense of humor about it, because you need somebody that'll make you smile. Sometimes I'll make a little remark to my wife, and then she smirks, and I say, "Yeah, I made you smile, didn't I?" and it just was just a little a mild little joke, and that goes a long way, because it keeps the quality of the relationship up, because you're talking about day-to-day things, but then it might make you reminisce to something that happened some years ago, and take you back down memory lane, and you laugh about it and say, well, back when we were doing that, I would have never thought that, but now it's funny to you. So you need that in your life, because one thing about life, it's not guaranteed. So when you find that mate, when you have that mate, cherish it, because of the fact you will need that mate, because when that mate's gone, you're going to be at a loss. And I want you to be sure about that when you find this mate, that this is the one. This is my wife for life. This is my boo for life, whatever it may be. Take your time and listen to your intuition. Like, this is the one right here. You know when it's the one. It clicks inside of you. And so picking the right person for the right reason at the right time. I should say that again. Pick the right person at the right time for the right reasons.
And your reason changes every decade. So your reasons might have been one reason at 30, and now you might have a whole nother set of reasons at 40. So just update yourself, update everything. Ladies that are single, update your wardrobe, update your wigs, update your stuff. You want to be fresh, you want to be new, you want to, you don't have to be a spring chicken to attract a man, but you don't want to be wearing a wig from 10 years ago still. The wigs have they upgraded the wigs. You don't know if it's somebody's hair now or not, or if it's a wig the way the wigs are now. But update your stuff. Don't, if you have the same outfit I have some outfits from 10 years ago, trust me, that I love. But I also have a husband. So when you are single, you want to put your best foot forward. Put those in the back of the closet. Go and get you a nice new outfit. Every time you go out with him or go out, don't let it always be the ones from 10 years ago. Freshen it up. Get something new. Go and get you a pedicure. Please get you a pedicure, and it's in the summertime. Get you a pedicure. Get you a manicure. Have someone do your makeup. It's so many different things. And then when you're older, you want to have facials and things like that. You want to take care of yourself. You want to preserve yourself, and you want to be the best you that you can be. So in the being the best you that you can be, there's so many young people out here that are on Instagram making lip glosses and lipsticks, and they will have a consultation with you just because you're going to purchase their product. And you can say, well, what looks good on my skin tone? They can really see, they can have a Zoom call with you and tell you what shades you need in a foundation. Trust me and believe, they know. So what I'm saying is, be the best you that you can be. So go and take the time to update yourself. If you haven't had a haircut, go and get your haircut. Now they wear the mask. They open the beauty salons up. It's a little different dating right now in a pandemic. I understand that, but even if you're having a Zoom date, which people are having, even if you're having a Zoom date, you can get yourself made up. You can put on some little lip gloss, and you don't have to have your bonnet on. He don't need to see your bonnet. The bonnet color and all the variety that you have is not his business right now. And do not go to the store with a bonnet on. I'm sorry, I got way sidetracked with the bonnet whole thing. It just does something to me. The bonnet is for sleeping time. Don't go grocery shopping in it, ladies. And that's one of the things that I didn't talk about, where you can actually find single men. And a lot of times it's the grocery store. They're in the grocery store, they're confused. And here you are with your pajama bottoms on and a bonnet. And he could have been the one, but he don't look past you because he don't want to see your pajamas from, did you sleep in them? And he doesn't want to see that bonnet. So do not go to the grocery store dressed like that. Actually, if you're single, you need to go to the grocery store like you're going to Sunday morning service, and I'm so serious. You should have yourself so together, because that single man that comes in that grocery store, if he is looking for some canned goods or doesn't know what aisle it's on, he's going to ask you because you immediately caught his eye and his attention because you are together. And I'm not saying you have to have on a $4,000 suit, but I'm saying be together, be presentable, look nice.
So these are tips for choosing a good partner or a mate. When you're choosing, take your time, get somebody that's compatible, find somebody that has some differences than you have, and it'll work itself out, because if you lay it out and understand to get to know the person, your relationship could become very long lasting. But when you're going through this dating process, you have to understand that there's going to be some bumps in the road. Someone's going to be the one you think is going to be the one, and they're not the one. because they got hiccups, they have flaws. And if you look in the mirror, like Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror. You have flaws. So nobody's perfect. We all have some flaws. One suggestion that I'm going to make also is like of couples that you know, find out, do they have siblings or do they have friends or acquaintances that are single, that's looking for someone, and that friend or that couple, they know their friends, or their family members, they would know whether or not you guys could possibly be compatible. No, he wouldn't be interested in you. But it still wouldn't hurt to go on a date, though. You never know. They might be interested in one another. You never know. But I'm just throwing that out there. Those are other opportunities for you to meet a mate. And then obviously going to church. Men, if you're looking for a woman, come to a church. Church is full of usually 80% women. So if you come to a church, you may find the right one there at the church. But you got to come with your spirit man on, wanting to be spiritually fed.
And don't forget, even if he does come to church, single ladies, you kind of know when that single guy that's never been there before comes to the church, then everybody turns around and you're looking at him and you're instantly saying, ooh, I wonder how old he is, and you done took your mind off the sermon. But I've said all of that to say, even if he does come, don't forget who you are. Know who you are. If you meet him in church, know who you are. You don't have to change anything about you if you're trying to be a godly, fearing woman.
Yes.
Continue to be that, and continue to pray and ask God for you to be found by him. Trust God. Do some things new for you. We're kind of opening up new things. They're opening up the gym and things like that. And even if you don't go to the gym, do some things for you. Go and take you a walk. Take some time for yourself to just improve yourself and to enhance who you are, so that the inner beauty will match the outer beauty.
Yes.
And get that consultation with someone, and get your little foundation. It's all right.
My last point that I'm going to make is that when you find this partner, and you guys are ironing out the differences and things of that sort, don't compromise to the things of that person's ideology because of the fact that if it doesn't line up with what you believe, don't give in for it. Give into it because of the fact if you give into it, you'll fall for just about anything. So I guess what I'm saying is, let's just say you don't drink, period. And this one that you meet, they're a social drinker. They only drink when you go out to dinner or what have you. But then all of a sudden it starts coming into the home. They want to have a drink. Well, I'm grown. I'm in my house. I'm going to have a drink. And then now you compromise like, well, he always drinking on that. I'm going to go ahead and get me a drink. But you don't believe in drinking, So some things you can't compromise on because you can lose your soul.
Yes, absolutely. You have to stand for God at all times. Be in season and out of season. Don't allow the enemy to trick you because it's a man bringing that package in. You want to be married so bad. Well, looks like that's all our time, huh?
That's it, Don't be desperate. You will find that mate.
Don't be desperate. He is coming. And wait patiently. Continue to pray. Continue to ask God to send him. And continue to believe. Do not forget to believe.
Yes. And brothers, the Bible says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing.
And then you get favor with God.
Come on.
So that's the bonus. Not only are we the good thing, but then you get favor with him for having the good thing.
Yes.
God bless you. We love you. Don't forget to send your questions and your comments.
We love you. See you next week.
Thank you for joining Relationship Matters. Catch us again next Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Worship Radio International as we continue to enlighten you about strength in relationships. For all questions, please email us at relationshipmatters99@gmail.com. Again, that's relationshipmatters99@gmail.com. If you would like to sow a seed into the ministry, there's 2 ways that you can do that. Through Cash App, $GSD Ministries, again, $GSD Ministries, or go to our website at GreaterShilohDeliveranceMinistries.com. Thank you.